Thank you for joining us.
Namaste.
So, today I have been playing with my belt for standing poses, and I'm going to show you a few ways to do that. Of course, one of the ways is with a longer belt, and that might not work for you today, but just to at least demonstrate some of the ways that you can use belts and what kind of feedback it can give you into your body. Props are used often to help enable you to go into a pose with greater ease. And sometimes props are useful because they give you feedback back into your body about actions you're trying to bring into a pose in your practice. We'll see where we get to today with the belt. So let's begin. Now I'm using my skinny belt and it's quite long. These are, I believe, made out of hemp and I really like them. They were from, and I bought them a long time ago. That's what's so great about belts is they last a long time. Although I admit my very first belt, and there's some wear on tear on this one. My very first belt has some wear and tear, and I don't use that one any longer because it really wore out. So with your belt, can you make a loop in it and perhaps about shoulder width or a little bit narrower? We're gonna play with the wrists and the arms to begin with it. So come and lie down with the knees bent up to the ceiling. And we're just gonna put that belt around the wrists and then slowly bring the arms overhead. And you might just notice where it works better in your body. Like perhaps as you do this, you only get here. But I don't know if you can feel that you're like pressing those outer wrists out with the palms facing each other.
Namaste.
And after a few times, perhaps you can feel that you can go further in this. And then you might also start to notice as you do this movement, what do you notice about your side body, about your abdomen? So as we begin to bring the arms overhead, and one of the reasons it's good to do it with our back on the mat is we won't be tempted to throw out our rib cage and perhaps to do some habit we might have standing. So this just reminds us the pelvis is on the floor, the back of the head, the shoulder blades. And then turn the wrists so that the palms face forward. And you can slowly try that with your arms and see what happens. The suggestion is that this one with the palms facing forward softens the front body a bit. And if you're not sure, you can do one with the palms facing each other. Notice the difference. Then bring the palms forward and notice the difference. And perhaps notice what happens in your shoulder blades. And then for something a little different, twist the thumbs around so the inner elbows still face each other, but now you're facing the palms out. And then see what happens to the body as you bring the arms overhead this way. And then slide the belt to that elbow chip, that outer elbow chip, and bring the palms facing. And we'll do a few like this. And you might notice how having the belt here on the elbow chip really helps even out those upper arms. Because if you've ever raised your arms like this and then tried to bring them to the floor and notice one thumb touches before the other, we all have a little bit of unevenness or asymmetry. And then again, bring the palms forward. See what this does in the front body versus what palms facing each other. And just letting the breath move with the movement. And now take the belt and bring it around your upper thighs. And depending on your legs, like if you need a little bit of space between the feet, we're going to do some bent knee leg raises, and then we're going to do some straight ones. So if you really want the thighs, the inner knees, and the heels to come together, then you really want to tighten your belt. And if you need a little more space, you can loosen it. So now we're going to start with bending the knees and straightening them. And again, if you'd like to interlock the hands behind the head, do that. And the belt here just kind of reminds those thighs to stay parallel to each other. And then on the next straight leg, see what happens as you bring the legs towards the floor and then bend them back in. Now, if you need to go shorter distance, and if you need to start not at 90, but a little bit lower, that's okay. So if you need to come here and then bend the knees in, that's fine. But see perhaps if that belt just supports your legs in this pose, maybe it makes the pose a little easier. And the next time you bring the legs down, try the same pose, lifting the legs up, bending the knees in, and lifting them up, and bending the knees. Now, bend the knees and take the belt towards those calf muscles. So you may have to tighten it, obviously. And we're going to see what happens. Notice what kind of feedback you get in your body from doing that pose with the belt on the calf muscles. So inhale the knees and straighten. And again, you can have your hands next to you or under the head, or if you really want more, you could bring them overhead. For now, I'm just going to keep them under my head. And just notice what this does for the legs when you strap in the calf muscles. And then the next time the legs are straight, see what happens when you bring them close to the floor and up. And again, you can modify how much movement you do. Guess I didn't do this the same, did I? What if you bend the knees in and press them up? So we'll do a few like this, bending the knees in and pressing up, and then also from down, up to down, bending the knees in and up. So it might give you something that's useful, and then bring the feet back down. Probably you got a good workout for those abs. And then roll to your side, come up to sitting. And if you happen to have a really long belt, one of the cool things to really even out your boat pose, but I'll show you different ways you can use the belt for this, is with a longer belt. And I always you have to kind of play with the measurement here. With a longer belt, I can go into boat pose like so. And I can really press my feet there, which really lifts right under my shoulder blades here. So that's one way to do boat pose, and it really does help you find that balance in the pose. It's like it feels really effortless. Now bend the knees. Now if you don't have a long enough I can't even talk, belt, you can put the belt on your feet. And this is where I wrap them around my hands. And then, of course, you can bend the knees in and really work those biceps to really get that lift of the chest. So the chest is up and it's not rolling like so. And then you can slowly straighten the legs. Now, you might need, some people often have to be a little bit lower, but be where you can be in this pose. And maybe after a few breaths, you can kind of walk the hands up the belt a little bit more and really lifting that chest. And then bend the knees in and come over to all fours. And we'll just do a downward dog, well, without the belt, because that's a little too complicated. But if you have a belt, what's really nice is if you have door handles, you can hang the belt around here and hang off the door handles. But I'm not really able to show you that today. So just planting that little seed. So bring the hands a little forward, tuck the toes under, and go into downward facing, and then do a little bit of walk in the legs, stretching out the legs. And then come into just bending the knees slightly, really press those armpits towards the thighs. And then straighten those legs. And then walk the feet and the hands towards each other. And come up to standing. And I'll show you what I've really been playing with the belt, that you don't need a really long belt for this. In fact, I'm going to keep mine in the circle doubled. And we're going to do some standing poses kind of in a sequence on one side. So if you bring the legs out wide, and I'll be mirror image. So the right foot is forward, the back foot, you can have the toes to heel on the diagonal. And then bring the belt over that front thigh. Now, what we're trying to do is often people go into triangle pose and they stick that hip out or they stick that butt cheek out. And we're trying to really use the strength in the opposite arm to bring the sit bone underneath us, but then to create space in that side waist. And we come into Utthita Trikonasana. Now, the other thing holding the belt here does is opening the front of that shoulder here. So just a couple of breaths here. And really, you can use that, get some real arm strength or use your arm strength to really pull that sit bone underneath you, creating length in the side waist. Now inhale, slowly come up. So you're gonna be pulling that belt down more and lift the top arm up. See if you can feel that space in the side waist. And then start to bend into Warrior Two. And then you're really pulling the belt down more. And then you can bring the front arm just shoulder height. Couple of breaths here. And then again, lift that top arm up, feeling all that length, and then bring the forearm into Parsvakonasana. Now I'm going to scoot back a little bit so I have a little more room. We're going to go from Parsvakonasana to bring that foot in, and you may not touch this arm to the floor, but you can try to go into Ardha Chandrasana this way. And then bring that back leg back, inch it back, and maybe you have a really deep triangle pose here. And then inhale, slowly come up. Maybe you need to shake that arm out. Get a little shake through the hips. Because that was quite a bit of poses on one side. So bring the feet parallel, soften the knees. And then we'll go to the other side. So you have your left foot forward, heels to toe, the back foot is toes to heels. And then you place the strap up there. And that crease where the thigh meets the pelvis. And then you're really pulling that belt so the sit bones goes underneath you and opening that front shoulder into Utthita Trikonasana. Couple of breaths here. Really pressing the feet in, lifting the front thigh. And then inhale that top arm up and start to bend the front leg into Warrior Two pose. And then you can bring that in front. Couple of breaths here. And then inhale the arm up, coming into Parsvakonasana. And then if you're up for the challenge, inching the back leg in, extending the arm down. As the teacher falls over. Ardha Chandrasana. And then extending that back leg into perhaps a wider base triangle. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring those feet parallel. Maybe you need to shake that arm out. And just come in and stand in Tadasana for a few breaths. Just to slow down the heart rate. And then if you have a belt that's long enough, and of course, always have to adjust it. I'm gonna show you how to use it in Warrior 3 pose. And this is when the strap is on the back foot and it's on the opposite front thigh. So this is my right leg and this is my left leg. Now, you can come into a bit of a Warrior 1, and then as you lean forward, inching the back leg in, and just have the arms to the side. And then you press that foot back and you're into Warrior 3. And then bring that foot back. If you don't have a long enough belt, you can hold the belt here at your hips, step forward, lift the leg up, and really use the arms to even out the hips. So, and then bring the leg down. Now, a couple of breaths here, that's pretty heart rate going. What's nice about Big Belt is that you can really feel how this is, the back leg is what supports you in the pose, which gives you this great little feedback of feeling that length in that top leg. So whichever kind of belt you have, whether you need to hold it in front of your hips or you have the long one like me, come into Warrior 3 pose with the arms to the side is fine. And then I guess you come back into Warrior 1 with the belt like that. And then come up. So that's a few ideas to do standing poses with the belt. And then we're going to come down. We often do this at the beginning of class, but I think it's really nice to do it later in the class. And if you have a place to put the feet, to press the feet in, great. If you don't worry about it. But again, it's really nice to do this pose later when you're all warmed up. So hands, reclining hands to big toe pose. And then hold the belt with the same arm. So this is the right side for me. And then you can slowly open the leg out. You really have to work into those opposite side abdominals. Slowly bring the leg up, and then you can change hands. Just bring it a little bit across, a little bit of a outer hip stretch. then bring back to the center. And then you can walk the hands up the belt, trying to bring the forehead to the shin. And that way you're using the weight of the upper body to perhaps get a little more stretch in the back of the leg. And then release that leg down. Maybe readjust if you're able to put the feet into a couch or a wall or a chest of drawers like I have here. And then inhale the other leg up. And place the belt on the ball of the foot. Now, if you have hyperextended knees, it's often useful to put it on the heel, but it's not a good idea to put it in the middle of the foot in your instep. And then take the same arm as leg. Bring the leg out to the side, and this is where you have to really work those abdominals. You've got a couple choices here. The arm can stay out, or you can place the hand on the hip if that helps. And then inhale that leg up, change hands. Little outer leg stretch. Bring the leg back up, and you can lift the head off for a bit more stretch. And then bring both legs up. Now, if you have a long belt, again, you could place it like we did in boat pose under your shoulder blades. If you don't, just place it on your feet. And we're going to do reverse Paschimottanasana. So with the belt around the shoulder blades, you just slowly start to walk the hands up the belt towards the feet. Same thing if you're just holding the belt on the feet, and try to straighten the backs of the legs as you slowly try to bring the shins towards your face. They may not get there, but just imagine your face on your shins. And you keep as much of the back on the floor, your tailbone can slightly lift off. And slowly release. And again, if you have the longer your belt and you'd like to do feet up the wall, you take the belt towards the pelvis, and then you put your feet into the belt with the feet up the wall. And this is a great little way to keep the legs bent. So this is another way to do feet up the wall. You might want to put something under your pelvis. So that's just if you have the longer belt. If not, you can just go into feet up the wall or Shavasana or whatever your finishing pose feels right for you. And whatever pose you're in, Just begin to scan your body a bit. And notice your particular sensation. Where does the body feel soft? Perhaps where does the body feel a bit niggly or tense, or I don't want to give you too many words, because we need many, many words, different kinds of descriptors to notice our sensation. Maybe part of your body feels really light and airy like a feather. Maybe part of your body feels as if it is encased like a statue. Just notice what you notice. And then take your attention to an area in the body that feels very soft. Just breathe in that softness. And then as you've taken in that softness, can you take that softness to an area of your body where you might feel a little bit of niggles or a little tension? Can you take that softness from that part of the body into a place that needs a little more softness? You can perhaps imagine this with your imagination, or perhaps your breath can carry that softness, that part of the body to that other part of the body. And then can you soften your collarbone notches? Soften your throat. face is just like a mask. And can you feel that mask begin to soften and melt? Bring in warmth to every pore of your face. And remember, busyness is not a badge of honor. Busyness is not a badge of honor. And then slowly begin to reawaken your body, bringing a bit of movement into your toes, into your fingers. You can do a big stretch. Slowly roll to your right side. Come up to sitting. And remember, busyness is not a badge of honor. Have a beautiful day or evening. Namaste. thank you for watching and joining us.
Namaste.